Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first webinar of 2025. Yay! We are so excited for this first webinar, and it would not be perfect if you had not come. So thank you so much for coming. We are going to be able to increase our financial capacity and have a great time. So you guys, today is National Bubble Bath Day and National English Toffee Day. So you have permission to get your chocolate on and take a nice warm bubble bath after you have this invigorating financial health presentation. And it's also National Joy Germ Day. What is National Joy Germ? Well, it reminds people across the country that by being positive and treating people with kindness, they can influence those around them and pass that positivity, that positive attitude on. So if you want to get a germ today, make sure it's a joy one. So I also wanted to update you guys on the upcoming webinars. We have strategies to tackle debt in the new year given by yours truly on January the 22nd at 5:30 p.m. We're also going to have love and marriage. Oh, no, not love and marriage, love and money. How to get your finances together with your honey. Or not. And then, of course, and our last one is going to be overcoming financial barriers. And we're going to have Eric Bell back, and he was one of the most popular guests of 2024. So welcome, you guys. We are so happy to have you here because we have the wonderful, amazing Andrew. Now, Andrew is one of those people that you meet and you immediately want his address to send his mother a Mother's Day card because she knocked it out of the ballpark with him. I love hanging out with Andrew because he knows all the 70 songs that I know, all of them. So it's super fun. So he is going to be giving his 2025 financial forecast, predict, prepare, and prosper, and you will have the amazing opportunity to listen to this young man spill some wisdom on all of us. Come on down, my friend.
Thank you, Veronica. I want you to just follow me around everywhere I go and just give me that introduction when I'm at the grocery store, whenever I'm meeting anybody. Just, that can be the intro to me all the time because it's such a it just makes me feel so good. I appreciate your introductions, Veronica. Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Andrew Farrell, and I will be hosting this evening's webinar, the 2025 Financial Forecast. We're going to talk about how to predict, prepare, and prosper in the new year. So the purpose of this webinar is really just to get everybody in a sort of proactive mindset to think about the year ahead. So we're currently at the beginning of 2025. It's a fresh start. It's a clean slate. How do we make the most of that, right? How can we forecast our upcoming year so that we don't feel bogged down or stressed or unprepared for any of the inevitable costs that are going to come our way? We want to forecast everything. We want to predict for it so that we can prepare for it. And then, wouldn't you know it, be prosperous in the year ahead. So before we dive in, a little bit about me. My name is Andrew Farrell. I am a community engagement specialist and a financial educator here at Patelco Credit Union. I have been with Patelco for about 6 years. So I moved to California from Ohio in 2017. Started at a local branch just as a teller. I needed a job when I first got here. I've always banked with credit unions my whole life, but never really understood the main difference between banks and credit unions until I started working with one. And I just fell in love with the credit union difference. Being able to help people, being able to put members first, makes me feel good, makes the community feel good. It's goodness all around. Currently, I work closely with a lot of college students, which is a demographic that I feel very passionate about giving the financial education to, because they're kind of at that age range where making these life decisions can really be very, very crucial for having good foundational skills into their future. And that's one of my biggest passions here within Patelco Credit Union. Outside of Patelco, I also double as a weekly trivia host. That is my fun fact about myself. So anybody who lives in Oakland or is around Oakland, right on 12th Street, kind of off Lake Merritt, there's a bar, Mad Oak is what it's called. Every Tuesday at 7 p.m., I host a weekly trivia night there. It's free to join, low stakes. It's a lot of fun. Come on out and see me. You'll have a good time. I also really love nature. I love the sun. I love being outside, hiking, canoeing, camping, any of that fun outdoor stuff. I'm all about it. Big, 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 huge movie person. I watch a ton of movies. I spend probably more than I should on movie tickets. I watch a lot of movies at home. Academy Awards season is coming up, so all the movies that I haven't seen, I got to watch all those because I like to form my opinions and I'm very passionate about my movie opinions. And as Veronica said earlier, I like karaoke. I like to sing. Veronica and I have done many a duet together in our 70s, fantasies. So I'm always down for a good song and for a good time. All right. I like to begin all of my webinars with this quote here. The secret of making progress is to get started. It's by Mark Twain. That is really all it takes to get started. You got to take that first step, and that's what you guys are all here doing today on this webinar. So give yourselves a pat on the back just for getting started, just for joining the webinar. Let's give ourselves a big round of applause for taking the reins of our financial journey, for displaying open-mindedness to new ideas, new proposals, and for just being here and for being willing to learn about some new habits, as well as ways to kind of enhance your existing practices. That's what we're all here for today. You guys showed up, and that is wonderful. And of course, we are going to get ready, be ready, stay ready. That is what we do here at Patelco Credit Union. That is what we like to impart on all of our members. This is a good way to live your life and to move forward. If you get ready, you are always going to be ready for all of things that life throws your way. And if you stay ready, you'll be ready for anything that comes at you. That's not only for budgeting, that's not only for any kind of like financial curveballs that come, but that's just for life in general. We always want to be ready. We always want to stay ahead of the curve, which is actually what this webinar is all about. So it's very topical because today we are all talking about being ahead of things and staying ahead of the curve. So I want to share a scenario with everybody today. And, hop in the chat if this is something that rings true to you, maybe send a thumbs up or whatever it is you got to do. But this is a scenario that I want to lay out. So it's the beginning of the new year. We're feeling good, right? New year, new me. It's a clean slate. We just got to pay off those debts from the holiday to get back on our feet after the holiday season. And once we do that, we're going to start feeling better. We're going to be better with our savings and better with our budget. So that's our mindset. We get to February, maybe March or April. We've kind of dug ourselves out of the holiday hole, and now vacation season is upon us, which is great. We're excited. Maybe we're going to Disneyland with the kids for spring break. If you're like me, I'm going to Hawaii around May. Maybe we're gearing up for that. You've got to pay for those tickets, though. Vacations are not free. If they were, you guys would never see me on here. I'd be gone all the time. You've been spending the last few months getting back on your feet after the holidays, though. So we don't have a lot of money to save for those vacations. No worries. We'll put it on the credit card. That's what it's there for. Maybe dip into our emergency savings if we need to. And after the trips, then we're going to really start cracking down. Okay. Fast forward even further. Trips are now over. It's now summer. We've got home projects we need to do. Plus, it's back to school season. And I'm going to throw this in there as well. In the midst of all of that, we'll just say your car breaks down. I mention this a lot in my webinars because my car did break down quite a bit for a while. If you guys have tuned in or listened to any of my podcasts, you will know about my car woes. So maybe this is just me projecting a little bit, but it is life. It is something that comes our way. So now we're in a bind because maybe we overspent a little bit on our vacations. We're struggling with these existing expenses we have. It's a stressful time. We say, okay, now is the time to really crack down on our spending. So we cut costs. We're more frugal. We're not saying yes to everything. We start to bounce back from these costs that have occurred, and we look at the calendar, and guess what? Now it's November. Now it's holiday season spending again. We have more shopping to do. We are not financially prepared for this, but we bite the bullet. We do our holiday spending anyways, and then we enter the new year in the exact same position that we were in last year. If that is relatable, let me know. Certainly relatable to me. I've been in that situation before many, many times. It is not a fun one. That is just us chasing our expenses. The expenses in that situation come first, and then we got to run. We got to play catch up. We got to hurry up and try to pay it off before a new one comes, which it inevitably does, and then we're chasing that one. It's a hard cycle to break, but what we are going to discuss today is some ways to, instead of chase our expenses, get ahead of our expenses. You see that right here? We're going to talk about how to front load your finances, how to do whatever you can within your power to predict and forecast the expenditures for the year so that you can plan ahead, so that you can live within your means, and so you don't always feel like you're trying to catch up, right? We want to be ahead of the finances instead of having the finances be ahead of us. That's the whole purpose of this webinar here, is getting ahead of your finances. Now, I'm going to be honest, this will take time, it will take energy, and it will take effort to be ahead of your finances and to constantly maintain being ahead of your finances. Planning ahead like this, getting out of that cycle of like chasing your money, requires not only very intentional planning and intentional forecasting, but it also requires consistent discipline. I do not, unfortunately, have some like one-off single magic trick that I can teach you all to make everything work in your favor. But I will say this: if you dedicate the time to prepare, to do the work, and to stay on track, it absolutely will be worth it. Always remember that, as is with everything in life, you get what you put in. So whatever you put in, whatever effort and level of energy that you put into anything, not just this, but anything in life, you will get that back. The harder you work, the more discipline, the more planning that you give to any kind of project, it'll bounce right back to you. So with that said, we want to get ahead of our finances. How do we do that? First thing we want to do when we are looking to the future and looking to get ahead of things is make sure that we understand the past. I think a pretty big common pitfall that I see when a lot of people try to get their money organized is they jump right into the budgeting portion. They want to create a budget, they want to get right into it, but it's hard to do that if you don't have like an idea of what you're already spending on. I would actually be curious to know how many people tuned in right now are able to confidently and accurately answer the question, how much did I spend on groceries last month? It might not be a lot of people. I'm gonna be honest, this past holiday season, I got a little lazy with my budget. I don't even know if I could answer that question. But it's something that we should all know, because that's money that is going out of our account. We should have a general idea of how much is going out to any category. So no matter, yes, Veronica, did you have something? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you popped up here. No worries. But it's no matter if you can't tell me how much you spent on groceries. That's why we're here. That's why we're on this step together. And that's why we're going to take the time to kind of review all of our expenses. So a tip for me, I think a good rule of thumb is to go into all of your accounts and log all your transactions. I think over the last 90 days, I think a 3-month sample size is kind of a good idea to understand what your expenditures normally are. If you feel like going back even further, the more data, the better. But 90 days, I think, is a good way to kind of start off. And when I say go through all your accounts and all your transactions, I mean all of it. We want to know how much you're spending on groceries, like I mentioned. We also want to know how much you're dining out, going to the movies, spending on utilities. We want to know how much you spend on those daily trips to Starbucks, or how much you spend on those impulse purchases at Target. In addition to all that, we also want to know how much you contribute to your savings accounts, what savings accounts you have, what different buckets you're tending to, and how much is going to those. We want to make sure that we are checking all of the accounts we use. If we have different bank accounts, if we have different checking accounts with each one, if we have different credit cards, check all of it. Make sure that we have a full comprehensive view of what our financial history is. What we want to be able to do here is comb through our transactions and see how much you might be overspending in what categories. Also see like if you have any subscriptions that you're not currently using. just be mindful and aware of your existing financial habits. And you can do this in a way that works for you. So I personally use an Excel spreadsheet. I used to use a budgeting app called Mint, but they did away with it very sadly. And now I just have decided to take the reins and do it myself. But even if you want to just take, some old school paper bank statements and color highlighters and do it that way, whatever you need to do, just make sure that you're able to get a complete holistic understanding of what your financial habits are. That's what we want to start off with. One tool that we have here at Patelco that helps make this easier is our financial insights. So this is something that we have on our online banking platform. It's built right in. It's super helpful. You can do it either on the computer or on the mobile app. You want to go to, it's called Rewards and Wellness is kind of the section. There's a tab there that said Rewards and Wellness. And then once you click that, you'll be able to see financial insights. This is a great way to get like a super quick overview of your spending habits with Patelco. So it breaks down everything by month. You'll see here, this one is about a year old, but it goes from September back to the previous month. When you click the bar for each month, it'll pull up your transaction history for the month. It categorizes the purchases for you. So you see right here how much is spent on online services versus loans versus healthcare versus entertainment, all that good stuff. Also shows you your recurring expenses on the right-hand side. There's also a section within the financial insights tool where you can create savings goals. So it makes those super easy to stay on top of and to follow. Any Patelco member out there who is looking for a quick and easy, convenient way to stay on top of their finances, this is a tool that I would 1000% recommend. And it's built right into our app, built right into our mobile banking or our online banking on the computer. So get in there. If you haven't used it, just play around with it. It's super interactive, easy to use. When you have a chance, it's super useful.
So Andrew, how do we get there? How do we get there? Because people are asking.
Sure. If you're on your mobile app, there's like a section where it says like more options or whatever, and it brings up different things. There will be a tab that is called health and wellness, or rewards and wellness is what it's called. I'm sorry. So when you click on rewards and wellness, it then brings up some other options. One of those is called financial insights. Additionally, if you're on the desktop version, if you go to patelco.org and are on your main dashboard, at the top, there's different bars. You're also going to see rewards and wellness up there as well. If you click rewards and wellness, same thing, it brings on a drop down and you'll just click financial insights. It's all built right in. It takes 2 clicks, rewards and wellness, financial insights, and then it automatically pulls this up. Once you're in here, it's just kind of about playing around with it, familiarizing yourself. But it's super, super easy, super intuitive to use. It'll pull up a screen that looks just like this. And then you can click on each month. You can click on your expenses. Right here, it says spending. There's also a tab that says savings goals. So you can do that and add savings goals. It's just about kind of playing around with it and getting yourself familiar with our financial insights. But it is a great, great, excellent resource. I use it myself. Cannot recommend enough. All right, so now we have gone through our transactions. We have our ideas. We want to go through the data. And when we go through the data, this is very important. Listen to your gut here. So when you're looking at how much you spend and in what categories, what initially kind of gives you the ick or makes you like cringe at how much you've been spending money? Like when you add up your Amazon purchases or your trips to In-N-Out, we'll say, also me projecting here, don't judge. Do you feel that kind of like, I spent that much on stuff at Amazon, or I spent that much, going to Starbucks, whatever it is, listen to your gut, listen to your emotional responses to your spending habits. Don't overthink it. If you're having that reaction, just listen to it. Also, do not overly justify. So this is my issue. Whenever I do this and I go through my transaction history and I make myself aware of like areas where I'm spending too much, I will then in my mind be like, okay, but actually it was on sale, or well, if I wouldn't have bought it, or well, actually I did need that because no, just no. I've had to learn to tell myself, Andrew, it's okay that you maybe overspent a little bit. We're human. We're not going to beat ourselves up about it. But we're also not going to pretend like those were financially wise decisions, because they were not. We have the data now. we have the information. We can take one of two routes. We can either be in denial and act like what we did was okay and take no accountability and then just continue to, repeat that cycle. Or we can learn from this information and, make a conscious effort to form new habits. And we want to take that path. That's why we're here in the webinar today, to take the good path. Also, when you are going through your data, and this is something that also gets me every time, we want to make sure that we are taking notes of all of our annual costs or biannual or any kind of cost that is like not just monthly, that doesn't fit super cleanly into a nice budget. This may require you to go back even further than 90 days, or just really sitting down and like going through your subscriptions, going through your memberships, going through, the things that you normally spend your money on. These costs right here are super easy to overlook and also super quick to like throw a wrench into your budget. So things like insurance premiums, annual utility fees, we have taxes, stuff like that can throw a wrench into your budget. Also things like annual membership fees. So if you belong to a gym, are they charging you an annual fee in addition to the monthly fee? Do you have like an annual fee to be a member of an organization? One thing for me is I have some apps that's on my iPhone right here that will charge an annual fee. So I mentioned earlier, I like to hike. I use All Trails for my hikes. That charges like a $35 annual fee. I've got a meditation app that I use. I also have like a photo grid app that I use to make photo collages. It's free with ads, but if you pay for it to not have ads, and I historically and famously hate ads, so I just paid a fee to not have them. All of these charge not much, $30 to $80 annual fees, but they do come out, and they come out the day they say they're going to come out. And if I'm not expecting it, like if I have my budget all laid out to the dollar and I am not prepared for an $80 fee to come out, and then all of a sudden it does, I feel blindsided. I feel like maybe I only had a certain dollar amount to cover my bills that month, and I wasn't expecting this $80 to come out. Now I got to pull from my savings, which I hate doing. Now I'm in like a negative mindset, and we don't want that. What do we want to do? We want to stay ahead of our finances. So we just want to be aware of when any of those insurance premiums, utility fees, annual fees come out, what day, how much. I like to make a list also on my Excel sheet of the set annual expenses, what they're for, how much they're for, the day or days they hit if it's multiple times a year. So that way I'm just not taken aback when they do come out, and I can continue to stay ahead of my finances. Lastly, on these annual costs, we have things like routine vehicle maintenance or home maintenance or holiday spending. These are generally not things that have like one set day or one set dollar amount each year, but they are costs that will incur in the year, and they're often things that people, I think, neglect to like factor in when they're setting their budget or their savings goals. So for this, I would just say, like, do some math. How much do you want to spend on holiday shopping this year? Get that number and start setting a savings bucket or a goal for it. Look at your vehicle maintenance schedule is another big one. Find out what you're going to need for the year. Maybe you'll need 2 oil changes, a tire rotation, and then maybe this is the year where you need new brake pads. How much is all that going to set you back? When do you need to get these things done? Remember, these are all costs that will come in the year. It's not an if, it is a when. So we can't just bury our heads in the sand and not, pretend they're not going to happen. They are going to happen. We want to make sure that we are getting ahead of them now, so we know how much we need to allocate to all these buckets. And then after that, how much we can still allocate to like our vacation savings and all that other stuff, so that all of our gardens are tended to and not just the obvious ones. Annual costs, these things that are predictable. We're not talking like emergencies or your car breaks down. We should always be obviously contributing to an emergency savings for that. But I'm talking about the things that are for sure going to happen in the year. List those out, plan for them, set the goals for them so that you can stay ahead of them and you are not blindsided when they come. Like I said earlier, just getting all this out there, putting it onto paper, getting it, out is going to require some time and some focus. There's just no way around that. But the benefit is that you will have a clear picture of what your year will look like financially, and you will be set up. You will be set up for success. And that peace of mind and that readiness is something that money cannot buy. All right. So now we have all the data, we've gone through everything, we know what we need to set aside. It is now time to create our budget. I'm not going to harp on this too much because we've done some budgeting webinars in the past. I will say if you are someone who's missed some of our past webinars and you really want to go into depth into budgeting, check out our YouTube channel. I'm going to have a link for it at the end of this webinar. But there are some really great ones on there. There's a budgeting webinar that I did around this time last year. It's called Master Budgeting in 2024. If you just search search Patelco on YouTube, you'll be able to kind of comb through our videos and find some of our past ones. There's lots of good other stuff on there as well. So definitely check it all out. Like I said, I'm going to have a link or a QR code to it at the end of this presentation. But just a quick review, when you're creating your budget, remember the phrase pay yourself first. That basically just means to pay your future self before you pay your current self. That's just another form of getting ahead of your finances. So we take our disposable income, or the money that we have left after we pay our bills, our utilities, etc. We then subtract what we're putting into all of our buckets. So how much do we need to start putting away now for holiday spending? How much for car maintenance? How much for emergency savings? How much for back to school savings? Make sure we are touching on all of those inevitable costs that we've laid out previously so that we are ahead of the game when they come up, and the rest left over we know we can now spend guilt-free because we have completely predicted and forecasted our year ahead. That is the whole purpose of this webinar here, is just getting ahead of the curve, laying out all your finances for the year, not ignoring things, and making sure you're mindful about them at the beginning of the year so you are not blindsided when they come up. All right, now we know what goals we have to set. Remember that when setting our goals, we want to make sure they are, one, realistic, and two, applicable to whatever your current financial situation is. So realistic goals mean that if you're a family of 5 and you've got a mortgage and a car note and kids in school, you're not setting up a goal to buy yourself a yacht, or if you owe like $500,000 on your house and you set the goal to pay off your home in full in 3 months, odds are you're just setting yourself up to be disappointed. We want to make sure our goals fit within our existing finances. We want to live within our means. We want our goals to be attainable. I think that a lot of people think that the bigger the goal, the sweeter the reward, which I have just personally never really bought into. I just want to set easy goals. I want to set goals that I can win, that I can accomplish, so that then I will feel accomplished. I will pat myself on the back and then use that positive reinforcement to set more easy goals and then win those too. I'm trying to clean up W's, baby. I want to set myself up for success. And I do that by just setting small goals, easy goals that I know I can accomplish. Any little mundane thing, I want to take a day trip to someplace. Okay, I'll set myself a goal for that. And then I accomplish it. I feel good. I maintain that positive reinforcement loop. Always happy because I am always winning. And those of you who know me know how competitive I am, even with myself, and how much I love to win. I don't need to climb Mount Everest to feel accomplished. If I say I want to save $400 for my share of an Airbnb in the summer, I set aside my, little $50 per paycheck for the next 4 months, and I reach that goal. That's my Mount Everest that I just climbed right there. I feel good. We also need to stay flexible with our goals, and we want to adjust them accordingly. So if you're someone who hasn't had to dip into your emergency savings much and you've got a nice little nest egg for yourself there, maybe you don't need to make that like a huge goal for the new year. If you're like me or like Veronica and you're not real big on holiday gifts, I don't need to make that a huge goal for myself next year either. If you're also like me and you like to set smaller, more frequent, or more achievable goals, I need to make sure I'm staying on top of my goal creating, so that I'm creating new goals once I, complete my old ones. You want to keep your goals flexible, keep them front of mind, and make sure that they are applicable to your current financial situation. And lastly, when setting goals, you want to make sure they are SMART goals. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So an easy way to understand this is that basically you want your goals to read less like just general statements and more like habits that you can follow. So saying something like, for example, my goal is to save for home repairs in the summer. That doesn't really tell you much of anything. It doesn't give you any kind of steps to follow. There's not any kind of clear path to make that happen. You say my goal is to save for home repairs. Okay, do it then. Save. How much? When are we doing it? What are we repairing? When do we need to buy? These are all questions that will make the goal much more easy to follow. There's no real like accountability or plan otherwise. So we want our goals to sound more like, my goal is to have $2,000 saved to refinish our hardwood floors in August by saving $150 per paycheck starting now. That is, again, us getting ahead of it. That goal is specific. We know exactly what we're saving for. We can measure how much we need to save. We've made it attainable by saying how we're going to save that much, and we know by when we'll have it saved. Now, all we got to do is just follow the steps that we have laid out in our goal. And when August rolls around, we're set up. We are staying ahead of our finances. We are happy campers. That goal is just step-by-step instructions. And that is a much more attainable goal than just a general, I want to save for repairs. All right. So I said earlier that I wasn't going to teach you guys one single magic trick that will help with everything. But if I were, this would be it. Write down your goals. There was a study that was conducted at Dominican University of California, and it found that people who write down their goals are 42% more likely to achieve those goals compared to those who just like thought about them without writing it down. Writing down your goals, physically committing those goals to paper is proven to help you achieve them. I myself have a journal that I use where I keep my goals in. Just the act of like getting it out of my head and out into the world helps make it a little bit more tangible. I also have like a physical thing that I can refer back to if I want to. I've also seen people write them on like dry erase boards. One thing I've seen a lot is people take like Post-its and write their little goals on them and stick them around the house or wherever they need to kind of keep them front of mind. Whatever it takes, commit your goals somewhere physical and tangible. This will help you stay focused on the goal, keeps it front of mind, helps you stay accountable to the goal that you've set, and will also help keep you on track when like obstacles come your way if you have a physical written reminder of your goal staying in the forefront. So if you were, in fact, looking for a magic trick, if when I said in the beginning, I don't have any magic trick for you guys, and you thought, oh man, how am I going to be successful? This is what I got for you. Think of your goals, make them SMART goals, make them an actual plan, and actually physically write them down. It sounds silly, but this is a trick that will benefit you. I assure you this. All right. So we've now set our goals. We've created our new budget. We're feeling good. We have everything lined up to forecast our year ahead and to be in a mindset of staying ahead of our finances and not chasing our finances. Now we have to put it all in action, like this brave superhero brain right here. We are going for it, full steam ahead. We're going to make this happen. I want to share this quote before we move forward. Motivation gets you going, but discipline keeps you growing. That is the law of consistency. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how many opportunities you receive. If you want to grow, consistency is the key. Ain't that the truth, Veronica?
It is absolutely the truth. But Andrew, we have one of our members is asking, how do you get your spouse on board with the budgeting? Did you have any suggestions around that?
Getting your spouse on board with the budget?
Yes.
I think it just comes down to, I mean, everybody's relationship and everybody's marriage situation is different. So there is, unfortunately, again, not a magic trick or not a, one size fits all option. It is kind of the same thing that we talk about with holiday spending, though, right? Just having honest conversations. You can't assume that your spouse understands this the same way that you do. You can't assume that your spouse is having the same like budgetary reservations that you are. You can't have any kind of assumption on any form of intent from your spouse. So if this is a way that you're feeling, if you feel like you need to cut some costs, you need to be better with your budgeting, it is about really sitting down and having a conversation with your spouse that is devoid of all judgment, is devoid of all defensiveness, about really getting on the same page and doing this together as a team. If it's about sitting down and going through your finances, do that together. Make it an activity. Pop open a glass of wine and make a night of it. Have a good time. Whatever you need to do, do it from a place of like love and understanding and togetherness. That would
Oh,
be
perfect answer.
my
Love it.
answer.
From love and understanding. And also, if you were talking about the SMART goals, if
Mhm.
you have the SMART goals and your values are in your goals and you both have the same goal at the same time,
Yeah,
then your values will lead you towards your budget. But it's a tough one.
1000%.
But we're gonna try to approach it next month and come up with some really good answers. But I really love the one you gave, Andrew.
Thank you, thank you. I appreciate it, Veronica. So being successful with money has very little to do with how much money that you actually make, and this kind of ties back into the quote right here. It also has very little to do with just knowing the financial concepts. You're getting those right here. You're here on the webinar. If it was as easy as just tuning into this webinar and you're all set, you know everything, we'd all be millionaires, but that is unfortunately not the case. Being successful, not only just with money, but with anything in life, really at the end of the day, it boils down to one thing, and that is discipline, which is not a fun word, especially if you like to indulge like myself. But that is really the key to the success here is being disciplined. Having a stroke of motivation, having the thought of like, I need to be more mindful with my money. That's a great first step. That is the first step. But that's only step one of like a multi-step situation. Having the discipline to like maintain that motivation, turn that motivation into consistency and creating new habits, that is where the growth lies. So what we need to do moving forward is consistently stay on top of our current expenses so we don't have to do what we're doing this year and pour through our 2025 expenses next year because we're already going to know the deal. So how do we do that? We check everything, we track, and we log it. If you can track everything and log it into like a spreadsheet or a Google Doc or whatever, go for it. If you can track everything on your bank statements, if you do a mobile app, if you want to use financial insights, these are the best ways to stay on top of everything because not only are you keeping these transactions in the forefront, you also have a way to go back and revisit if you need to check back on some of your spending habits or, reflect. If you're not super tech savvy, or I don't want to give everyone an out here, but if you just realistically feel like maybe right now you are not in a headspace or a place to like commit to really like tracking and logging everything down, at the very least, I implore you to just bring up your account history and look through it. Every couple nights, maybe before you go to bed, that's what I do. Just do the check step. Pull up your account history, pull up the accounts that you're spending on, go through your history, your transactions. It's a lot easier to do those daily impulse purchases at Target or go to, Starbucks every single day if you are not looking at the, ramifications of that. But if you at least check your transaction history, you'll be able to keep yourself more accountable. It's going to keep your spending a little bit more mindful, I guess. But I really, really do recommend tracking and logging everything. Like I said before, I personally use Excel. I like to just be, hands-on with everything. I'm kind of a control freak in that way. But if you want to use a budgeting app or even, the financial insights tab that we talked about earlier, whatever it is, this is basically, I'm not telling you how to do this. This is just me telling you that with your budget and with your goals, we don't want to do like a set it and forget it, right? Because we want to make sure that we are able to constantly be readjusting and keeping tabs of everything. Make sure you're not saying like, okay, well, I said I would save $50 per paycheck on holiday savings, so I'm doing that, and now the rest of my money I can blow on online shopping. Cool. That's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make sure that the amount that you've allocated for all of these things is the amount that you're actually spending. And that money isn't kind of just going away without you really knowing where it's going. Remember, all of this, again, requires discipline and it requires consistency. But if you can do it, the rewards will be very, very, very sweet. In step one of all of this, when we went back and we logged everything from last year, that's a bear of a task that is something that we have to do when we start this. But if we log everything or we keep track of everything as it comes, we keep our spending habits in line in real time. So that way, if let's just say we're only a third of the way through the month and we realize we've already spent almost our entire entertainment allowance, which is probably a problem that I would have because I do have a tendency to go to the movies, go to concerts, things like that. I can then pivot right then versus having to do it retroactively after the damage has been done. It's just another way to stay ahead of your finances. Keep tracking, keep logging, keep everything front of mind. Okay, I bring this slide up every presentation I do, and will probably continue to bring it up every presentation I do because I want the pitfalls of impulse spending to stay front of mind for everyone, especially because this is something that I've struggled with myself. So this webinar is really just me kind of projecting my own issues onto you guys. I hope you're able to learn something from it. But for me, in my experience, one of the biggest budget killers that I have dealt with, one of the biggest things that has gotten in the way of me achieving my goals, and one of the biggest things that have kind of derailed my financial plans are impulse purchases. I'm going to share the statistics that I share every time. Average American spends $314 a month on impulse purchases, $3,700 a year, and over $200,000 in a lifetime on just impulse purchases. These are purchases that you never even considered, things that never entered your mind until you saw them online or you saw them at the store and you just decided to buy it. If you don't give yourself time to think about what you're buying, think about what you're putting in your cart, odds are you probably don't even want it that much. You may just want that immediate dopamine boost, or you may think in that moment, this might be something cool to have, and then you buy it. These can really, really derail a budget because they're not things that we're tracking. They're not things that we are staying on top of. They aren't things that were allocated in our financial plan. And they're very, very easy to do because it's nice to get that immediate dopamine boost. But we want to try to stop this habit as best we can. So some tips for me or some things that have worked. Number one is to question myself. I like to ask myself whenever I am seeing something that is kind of catching my eye, if I really need this, if it is fulfilling any kind of like need, if I'm going to be negatively affected in any way if I don't get it. Is this a long-term investment? Is this something that I even really knew existed or really thought that I wanted before 2 minutes ago when I saw it? And as is with everything, listen to your gut. If your gut is telling you, I don't know about this, or I probably shouldn't be spending $100 or how much it is on this one thing, trust your instinct. Don't try to do the mental gymnastics to justify it in your head. Listen to your gut immediately and move forward. Beware of scrolling. So I think in general, we spend too much time just scrolling on social media. It's not great for the brain. But on top of that, social media and scrolling and the targeted ads, email lists, things like that are also just ways to invite in unnecessary expenses. So if scrolling is a big trigger for you, as it is for me, unsubscribe, unfollow accounts that maybe trigger you. Try to limit your screen time, set alerts to, put the phone down after a certain amount of time. If going into stores and just browsing, if that's, in-person shopping is a trigger for you, be mindful of that and try to limit that activity as well. Stop the comparisons. Obviously, no one's financial journey is the exact same. You don't have the data, you don't have all the facts for everyone else's financial situation. You're only seeing the tip of the iceberg. So you cannot compare your entire iceberg to their little tiny tip of their iceberg. You just got to do what's best for you and your life. And last but not least, I will talk about this till I am blue in the face. The 30-day rule. This is something that once I have started practicing, it has probably saved me like hundreds of dollars. I will still, like, if I'm shopping on Amazon and I see something I want, delusionally tell myself, I'm going to buy this. Like, this is something I really, really, really need. I just told myself I'd wait 30 days. So let me add it to my Amazon cart. And then in 30 days on the dot, I'm going to come back and buy it. And then, maybe 3 weeks later, I'm shopping. There's something I need to actually buy, trash bags, whatever it is. And I see there's one thing in my cart and I look at it and it's like, oh, it's that thing that I put in my cart 3 weeks ago that I was so sure that I was going to buy, but then forgot about it entirely 2 days later, And then I think, like, did I really need that? If I would have just bought it right there, I would have had this thing that I now forgot its existence entirely. But in that reality, in that universe, I've now spent money on it and just have more clutter and more trash. The 30-day rule basically just means that if you see something that you want to buy impulsively, don't tell yourself no. Tell yourself in 30 days. Add it to your cart, take a picture of it if it's at the store, whatever you got to do to like give yourself that little rush of, ooh, I'm going to have this in 30 days, but actually wait the 30 days. 9 times out of 10, you're going to forget about it entirely. And on the off chance that you don't forget about it and it's something that you actually want, you now have some time to research and to make sure you're getting the best one, the most affordable one, the one that's going to fit your needs, as opposed to just the first thing that you saw. All right, so one last tip here for people who may feel like the holiday season was rough, they're a little more behind than they'd like to be on their financial situation, and they want a way to kind of accelerate themselves to get back on track. I want to challenge you guys or anybody else here who think they might be able to benefit from this to a no spend month. Lots of people like to do no spend January. We're also already a few days into January. I prefer to do a no spend February because it's still at the beginning of the year, but it's also the shortest month. You know what I'm saying? So a no spend month, oops, I went way too far. A no spend month basically means you take 1 month where you only spend on the essentials. This is like your rent, your mortgage, your utility bills, the absolute essentials. Even with groceries, this is a month where we want to go through our pantry, go through our freezer, go through that frozen meat we've got, the boxes of pasta, the cans of beans and vegetables, and only buy what is absolutely necessary at the grocery store to kind of complement or go with what we already have. We dedicate 1 full month to letting go of spending money on wants. And we put all that extra money that we've saved in that 1 month to whatever it is that we need to bounce back from. So if it's paying off holiday debt, if it's replenishing your emergency savings, maybe you had a lot of money that you had to spend on a car problem. Whatever it is to get back on track, that is where all that money goes. I personally find that a no spend month, while it does require a lot of discipline, that's kind of all that it requires, which is kind of helpful in a way. Like it's pretty easy to execute because there is zero gray area. It's not, it's a bare bones month. There's no, no spend month except Fridays, or like no spend month except my sister's birthday. So I go out that one night and then we're back to it. No, if that's the case, pick a different month. Me, if I give myself an inch, I will take a mile. So don't give yourself any wiggle room at all. And then there's no guesswork. There's no decisions that need to be made. There's no compromises. It's just 30 days or 28 if you do it in February of just pure discipline. And I promise you, you will be floored at how much money you are able to stockpile in 1 month if you go bare bones. If you do 1 solid month of no wants, no excess groceries, no dining out, just stockpile all that extra savings, you will kickstart and boost your savings in a way that you are not able to believe right now. Also, a fun little loophole with no spend month is that if you have like restaurant gift cards or a gift card to like your favorite clothing store, those are all in play. Those are fair game because it's not your money. You're not able to spend that anywhere else. So as long as you don't exceed the value of the gift card and you keep it just to the balance that you have on those gift cards, use those to keep you sane during your no spend month. And remember that always at the end of the day, with a no spend month, no means no. It is called a no spend month for a reason. We are doing this to really, really stockpile money. Keep tabs on how much you're saving, whatever you got to do to kind of keep this discipline front of mind. But it's just 1 month. It is just 1 month of a bare bones budget. You will save a ton. I've done this a couple times. I'm probably going to do it again next month. And yeah, I'm looking forward to stockpiling some extra cash. All right. One last quote before I talk about some resources that we have that can help you guys out here at Patelco Credit Union. You become what you give your attention to. That is a quote from Epictetus, a wonderful philosopher. This is a little thing that you can apply not only to you, saying you want to get on track with budgeting or you want to get on track with forecasting your finances. You can apply this to any aspect of your life. If you say, I want to climb Mount Everest, I would say to you, okay, you're crazy, but do what you want to do. Pay attention, do your training, do your diet, whatever it takes to climb Mount Everest. I don't know the ins and outs of that because that's not my jurisdiction. But if you really, really, really give your attention to that goal, you will climb Mount Everest. Anything is within your reach if you consciously make the effort to give it the necessary attention. So, with all that said, we would love to hear from you. If you have questions about anything, if you need any additional help, if you need feedback, suggestions for future webinars, whatever it is, go ahead and reach out to us at webinars@patelco.org. Yes, Veronica.
I was just going to say that everybody went crazy over the no spend month.
Mm-hmm.
But it got a little crazy because then we were talking about fasting and all types of ways to increase your courage and your pocketbook.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting to hear.
There are so many ways. And these are like short-term things. This is just, you tell yourself 1 month, you tell yourself whatever it is, you see the end in sight, and you just like, it's like running, the difference between running a marathon or doing a sprint. You just want to do these things to like accelerate your savings. And for those who have never done a no spend month, I've said it before, but you will save so much money. You'll be floored, and then you'll want to do it again next year. And it's just a great way to get yourself back on track.
But Heather, don't do it on your birthday month, hon.
No.
Do it on the other month, because like everybody's going to want to eat cake with you, girl.
Yes. You want to pick the right month for you. You want to pick a month that you're going to have as few temptations as possible, and then just go hard on it.
Yeah. So Heather says people can spend on her. She's not going to be spending on herself.
Exactly.
Thanks for that clarification.
Do it on your birthday month and just make everybody else give you money on that. There you go. That's another loophole right there.
My favorite part so far, though, is when you were talking about the comparison. I think social media makes all of us very FOMO. And I think you really hit some chords when you were talking about that.
Yeah, it's hard to not do it, especially in this day and age when it seems like the measuring stick is all around us. It's not only in like advertising and celebrities and things like that, but it's also our peers. Like we see our friends posting pictures and things like that, and we think, oh man, I want to do that stuff too. But you don't know what their financial situation is. You don't know how they were able to afford the things that you are perceiving for them. All you know is your own situation, and that's all that you can, that's the only barometer that you can have.
Fantastic. Christian wants to know, does piano lessons count as essential?
That depends on what your needs are, Christian. I have like a needs versus wants thing I talk about. I would not put that as like a fundamental need, like food and oxygen, but that could be a mental health need. If piano is what you got to do to make yourself feel good, that's something you allocate money to. You just might have to take money from somewhere else. I've said this before, but there can be room for anything in a budget. There just cannot be room for everything in a budget.
You did such a fantastic job.
Thank you.
Harriet talked about having an accountability partner.
That also helps quite a bit. There was also that study that I was talking about Dominican University of California. There was another layer to that. So people who wrote their goals down were more likely to achieve them, 42% more likely. But if they also shared those goals with a friend, their likelihood increased even more. So having accountability partners and someone that's going to help keep you in check is definitely going to help, get those goals met as well.
Everybody loved your presentation tonight, Andrew.
Thank you.
Again, you hit it right out of the ballpark.
Appreciate it. It
was easy to understand. It was fun, and you gave us tough love.
That's what I'm here to do. I've got a couple other resources I wanted to share here before we let everyone go. But first and foremost here, reach out to us. We want to do these webinars to give you guys the information or the ideas that you guys are craving. So if you have ideas or suggestions for podcast episodes, webinars, if anything we've said sounds good, but you need a little bit of extra help or you want to be pointed in the right direction, or if you just want to say like, that Andrew is so charismatic and dashingly handsome and we want him all the time, let us know. Webinars@patelco.org. We would love to hear from you. Also, go ahead and toss us a follow and stay up to date on our social medias. We are active on Instagram and TikTok. If you go on TikTok, you'll actually find a nice little video of Veronica and I singing one of those 70s classics we were talking about earlier. We have some cool little financial clips and videos. We also can stay on top of all of Patelco's updates right there as well. So stay in the loop. Let us know. Follow us here. I mentioned earlier that you can view any of our past webinars as well. You can view them on our YouTube channel. If you scan this QR code right here, it'll take you directly to our YouTube channel, and then you can scroll through all of our videos. This webinar right here is going to be available on there here coming up as well. But any of our past webinars, if the budgeting stuff sounds good, if you need help with paying off debt, we've got some webinars for that. All of that is going to be available on our YouTube channel. We also have some great podcast episodes. For those who are not familiar with our podcast, it is called Small Talks for Big Change. Wherever you get your podcasts, there's a really great one that is also with Veronica and I that we did a couple weeks ago, right before the holidays. It's just about getting in that kind of holiday mindset, but lots of great topics on there as well. Some additional resources that we have with some partnerships that you can find on our website. Spring 4 is a great partnership that connects you with local trusted nonprofits and like government resources that may help you save money and reach your financial goals if you need a little bit of extra help that way. Balance offers great financial education information and resources. And also we have Bonsai, which has some really cool financial education toolkits and materials on there as well. Those are all available on the wellness tab on our website, patelco.org. So play around with it, see what you can find. There's some good stuff up there. We also have our CFSs. So if you need help with saving money, reducing your debt, creating a budget, rebuilding credit, whatever it is, you can make an appointment to sit down one-on-one with one of our certified financial specialists, patelco.org/financial journey. That's also on our wellness tab. They are really, really great trained experts at getting you back on track in whatever you need. So if it's credit repair, if all this budgeting stuff sounds great, but you may need someone to kind of hold your hand through it and help you with the actual strategies, make an appointment with one of our certified financial specialists. We have a great team of CFSs that can help you out with that. Again, patelco.org/financial journey. And I want to tell you guys again, remind you about the upcoming webinar that Veronica talked about at the beginning of this podcast, of this webinar. We're not on a podcast. Strategies to Tackle Debt in the New Year. It is January 22nd, 2 weeks from today, same time, same place, 5:30 p.m. If holiday spending left your credit card balances maybe a little bit higher than you'd like, and you want to start the new year strong and get some practical strategies to reduce and eliminate that debt, tune in. It is going to be presented by the one and only, the incomparable, the wonderful, the fantastic Miss Veronica Dangerfield herself. She will be leading the charge on that. It's going to be a great webinar. I will be there as well, so definitely tune into that. And one last thing before we send you guys on your way. I know most of you guys are all members with us already, but anybody who's tuning in who's not an existing member, or if you maybe have some friends or family that you want to send over here because you just love Patelco's vision and mission so much and you think that we have some great products and services that can benefit, we actually have a new member referral where if you open up a free checking account with us, put $100 opening deposit in there, and also open up one of our free high yield money market savings accounts. No opening balance required for that. You just got to get that opened as well. We are going to match you and give you a $100 bonus just for signing up. This is for brand new members. So anybody who's not an existing member, go ahead and get signed up. You're going to use this referral code right here that is listed. You can do it on our virtual branch. You can stop in and see one of our lovely team members in person at any one of our branches near you. You can open it up online. Just make sure you use this referral code. Make sure you open up a free checking account, put $100 opening deposit in there, and get one of our free high yield money market savings accounts opened as well. And we will get you that $100 referral bonus. It's going to be great, or new member bonus, I should say. With all that, thank you all for attending. My name is Andrew. Again, you can reach out to us at webinars@patelco.org. We would absolutely love to hear from you. Anything you have, let us know. That's all I got for you guys this evening. Thank you so much for tuning in. Veronica.
Did a great job, Andrew. We so appreciate you guys spending your evening with us. Come to the next webinar. We will entertain you. We will try not to sing, but we can't promise that won't happen. But have a great evening. And this is to your financial wealth, increasing your capacity so you can have the best, happiest life ever. Have a wonderful evening. And thank you, Andrew. You did a fantastic job.
Thank you, Veronica. Always a fun time.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Hey Patelco fam, I hope you liked that video. Go ahead and click here to subscribe to our YouTube channel and here to watch the next video. Thank you.